Hello, Namaste. Welcome to Dev's Hammer Show. This is the weekly flagship English talk show of Indigenous Television and ITV Nepal. In this weekly English talk show, I invite guests from different countries, especially working in the areas of Indigenous peoples, and I bring the global experiences at the local context and relate Indigenous peoples' issues in the ground to the global context. So in this talk show, I sometimes conduct online interviews, sometimes face-to-face interview. So today I have a guest, a very renowned social activist from India. He is in Kathmandu in order to make necessary preparation for the World Social Forum, which is taking place from 15th to 19th February in 2024.
Yeah, that's right.
So he has come here for necessary preparations, and he is the founder and current chairperson of one of the renowned organizations which is based in India called National Confederation of Dalits and Adivasi Organizations.
That's right.
So let me first welcome, his name is Ashok Bharati, and let me welcome Ashok to the show.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate.
So to start with our conversations about the issues, I would like to request you, as I said in background, a little bit that you are founder of this organization which is known as, in short, NACDAOR. Could you just introduce yourself in brief, please?
You know, I was an activist at the age of 17, and after my training, and so I got a sabbatical and I went to Australia for my higher education. And I was student leader in India, and I was student leader even in Australian University, University of South Australia. And I learned a lot there. Then I realized that when I came back to India, what I noticed that there were lots of political formations led by the Dalits and Adivasi in India. However, I couldn't find a national platform giving the voice to the issues and the concerns of the Dalits, indigenous populations and Adivasis. And it was really, a kind of awakening. So I decided to organize first ever National Conference of Dalit Organizations. Because I was a Dalit, so the legitimacy was for the Dalits only. So I organized the national conference in 2001. And this conference was such a successful conference that people asked me, why don't you institutionalize? Let us be all institutionalized. 187 organizations participated there in 2001. And by 2007, there were about 1,200 organizations who had joined the National Conference of Dalit Organization. And in 2007, we decided. And our second conference, first was in 2001, second was 2007. The second conference was inaugurated by none less than the India's Vice President. So, and there we decided, because lots of federations were part of this movement, and so it was decided to rename the organization as National Confederation of Dalit Organizations. But by the time we were working, it was 6 years. And because we were working in around 10 states at that time, and many of these states, for example, Madhya Pradesh and Bihar at that time, Bihar, Jharkhand, there were lots of people were part of the NACDAOR movement were Adivasis. So they shared with us that they don't feel comfortable with the word of Dalits. They would like the Adivasi should make part, because they are part of the movement, so they would like to have a recognition of the Adivasis in the name. So that's why we, in 2012, I suppose, that when we had the third conference, we decided to include the Adivasi in our nomenclature, and that's why the name came as National Confederation of Dalit and Adivasi Organizations. We have done lots of things. One of our demand was creating a separate tribal ministry. Our demand was inclusion of the Dalits and Adivasi in pre-budget meeting with the finance minister. So many issues, yeah.
So the concept of Dalit, or which is common in Nepal, in India, to some extent in Bangladesh as well, and in Nepal also we have, I mean, indigenous communities, indigenous peoples have worked closely with Dalits and other minority groups. Could you just tell us your experiences, how the issues of indigenous peoples, and then in India, their indigenous peoples are called the scheduled tribes, I guess.
Yes.
And the Dalits are called the scheduled caste,
Yes.
right? How come that their issues are in common in between in India, and what is your experiences? What lesson we can draw from India to Nepal?
No, first, that we must understand the differences that the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes in India has. While scheduled castes are part of the mainstream society, because they live in the urban areas, peri-urban areas, rural areas, where large population of Indians live. And but living within the society, they are socially excluded. So they live on the periphery of the village, or outskirt of the cities, or outside the habitation. That is the historically, that. In case of the indigenous or the tribal population, they are not part of the urban society. They are always part, most of them are the part of the rural society. And rural society, that is the remote society. And they are geographically excluded. So they live in forests, they live in hills. Most of them live in the forest area which are inaccessible. And so these are the two different. But regarding the similarity, both are extremely poor communities. Both are victim of the Hindu social order. Both are victim of the deep-rooted exclusion. Both are victim of the massive exploitations. They do not get enough wages, or they are both victim of the Indian police system. They hardly see their representation in the judiciary. So I guess that these are the similarity. And in India, I'm sure that you are aware of that, the government of India has reservation for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes.
Yes.
This reservation in government jobs brings them together and makes a unity of the two for the same cause. So both are on the governments are committed as a policy, they should include more and more Dalits and Adivasi. However, the governments are failing in recruiting them. So it makes a cause for both of them to join together, fight together.
So actually Nepal government, when we talk about Nepal governments, a lot of the national plans or whatever the activities, we mostly copy from India. So India first introduced the reservation, that what you say, that government introduced to scheduled tribe and scheduled caste groups, and even in Nepal we have that reservation.
Yes.
The quota systems that has been guaranteed for these minority groups, but it hasn't been such a long. But the mainstream societies, even government or some section of societies, are not thinking that they are so vocal that they have to revoke it back, right? So they have,
Bogie of the merit.
Right. So that means reservation is no more. They have to, right? The government should end this reservation system. What is your lessons? Your own experiences or your organization's stand, whether the reservation actually helped in India to bring both these minority groups into the mainstream, let's say mainstream decision making and decision making of the politics in different layers of the society.
Let me share. There was no reservations prior to 1940s in India. So the people who questioned reservations, so they were all in the power, in the government, in the judiciary, everywhere they were there. Will they explain without reservation why the Dalits and Adivasi were not in any position of significance? They were not they were not there in education system. They were not teachers. They were not government employees, they were not clerks, even they were not the sweepers. I believe, and I guess same must be with the Nepal, that if reservation is not there, it has not happened for thousands of years. Only reservation has brought them the fruits which did not happen for thousands and thousands of years. So therefore reservation has its utility. Reservation is nothing. It's basically making the governance and the institution inclusive, increasing the diversity. Otherwise, government jobs, judiciary, leaders, political party will remain limited to the very few communities which are powerful, have money, deep pockets, and deep biases.
So one another thing, in 2017 or 18, I had an opportunity to visit to Northeast India, where there is majority of indigenous peoples,
Yes.
scheduled tribe groups,
Yeah.
are the majority in these states. And one of their concerns was that the government has introduced that APSA, Armed
I understand that after. Yeah.
APSA, right? Special Power Act,
Yeah.
Armed Force Special Power
Yeah.
Act. That government introduced that plan actually targeting to indigenous groups, and that actually was causing massive human right violation of indigenous peoples there in Northeast India. How about the Dalits, scheduled caste as well? Are there, scheduled caste groups also in support of indigenous groups, indigenous people, such concerns in
Absolutely.
India? Or how come that they come together and then make a voice against the government?
I guess that the Dalits fully support the Adivasis and their demands. In case of the Northeast, situation is little, tricky. Tricky in this sense, the whole Northeast is on the border of China border. So therefore, government use the bogey of the bordering states, and in order to, as if the Adivasi can't protect these territories. So they believe, because the mindset is not Adivasi mindset. So the government mindset is not the mindset of the Adivasi. Adivasi have always protected the borders. They have remained loyal to the countries. So AFSA, this Armed Forces Special Power Act, it is certainly used to violate the rights of the indigenous people, and it has become a tool in the hands of the bureaucracy or the police to invoke this even at the slightest wrong anybody does. So I guess that we have always been requesting the government that the Northeast people are the citizen. But the off late, there has been lots of investment by the central government, and now Northeast is much more included in India. So which is recently the Home Minister has signed an agreement with the ULFA in Assam. But I suppose that, but I know that the Manipur is a sore point, because lots of Adivasi being persecuted. That remains a concern for the Dalits and Adivasi both, and we certainly urge the government to intervene so that the persecution of Adivasi could be stopped.
So now let us return back from Adivasis and these issues to now common issues that you mostly refer. This is a social movement, as you said, that you are one of the social activists too. And then often we hear, right from this stance, we often also hear, and we also have experiences that these public spaces, which are being shrinked recently in Nepal, the TikTok was recently banned, and the public spaces where the Dalit or minority groups, including indigenous peoples, used to go and do demonstrations have been, locked down. They sealed by the government now.
Yes.
So we often hear these kinds of instances also in India. Do you also have similar experiences of these public spaces being shrinked in India?
Yes, I guess that the governments, we see the undemocratic trends in the governments. governments, within the governments. And these undemocratic trends become much more pronounced when Dalits and Adivasi are more active demanding for their rights. As far as the NACDAOR is concerned, NACDAOR has always been on the roads. In 2018, 2nd April, when I'm sure that you are aware that there was a Supreme Court judgment diluting the Prevention of Atrocity Act of Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe. So NACDAOR had called a Bharat Bandh. It was a hugely successful Bharat Bandh, and we believe that protecting our right, particularly the constitutional right, is our duty. We are duty bound, and government is also duty bound to protect and promote the interest of the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe. So if Adivasis are demanding something, if Janjatis are demanding something, Dalits are demanding something, it is the duty of the government to consider those things sympathetically. So I believe that while there is that now the government always asks, for example, recently we organized a workshop of 20 people in Delhi, and police is asking the permission. This is the height of the stupidity. 20 people doing some training program and you are asking permission. What is permission? In democracy, why do we need such permissions? So government has to think, carefully that these things brings a bad name to the country.
So the India claims to be one of the greatest or world's largest democratic country, but then
we are the largest democracy, there is no doubt about it. But we have some undemocratic trends, but I guess that the country is self-sufficient to weed out such undemocratic trends. So we are not that worried that it is our own battle, and the Indian people, masses, are quite capable to handle their own undemocratic traditions in their country.
While bringing this undemocratic activities, little hate then, as you have founded one of the, let's say, organizations, one of the confederations of Dalits and Adivasis there, how easy it is to undertake the activities, as I guess in India there is, the government has introduced that, there is regulation for foreign,
FCRA.
Foreign Contribution Regulation Act as well, right? That actually is regulating all the activities of organization too. That I guess is a part of, shrinking the public spaces as well. How do you take, how is your organization together with all other organizations are being vocal against this?
Well,
activities?
I suppose that the FCRA is a very, I believe that an act that really comes heavily on the civil society.
Including, just like you.
Including the Dalits and Adivasi. We never worked under the FCRA, but one of our friendly organization had FCRA, which was cancelled in 2016. We primarily depend on the local resources, but we will be applying for the FCRA.
So that is also one of the act of the government to shrinking the public spaces, right?
Yeah. But that
being organized together or taking some.
Yeah. But this act was there earlier also, not with that it has been always there. Particularly in 2010, there was a revision of the act and some amendment was brought and it was redefined. After that, it has become really very difficult for everything has been so it really limits the scope of working with the people. But it says under the FCRA you can't work on political issues. You can't work issues that are troublesome for the government. But the political parties in India can take foreign contribution.
See, but the issues of Dalits, issues of indigenous peoples itself is the political one.
Absolutely. The moment Dalit and Adivasi raise any issue, it will always be a political issue. We are 25% of the population of the country. So even if the issue is not a political parties or the state or the government will always look it from the political perspective, because we carry the weight of the 25% population. So the issue that carries the weight of the 25% population can't be apolitical. So therefore, the government regarding the FCRA for the Dalits and Adivasi has to be liberal. give them this freedom, have to give them this space. Ultimately, what Adivasi and Dalits are demanding, they are demanding to improve the functioning of the government, improve the governance, improve the judiciary, improve the law and order situation, improve the policy implementation. This is what our demands are.
So this actually shows that the social movement in India is actually not expanding as such. Does that mean it is shrinking, the social movement there, or?
Well, I wouldn't say that the social movement is shrinking. Civic space is shrinking, but the base of the social movement is expanding.
Okay.
Because lot more people realizing that they need to be really working for the cause of the community. They're really engaging with the government. They will really be if there is something wrong, they should be talking to the government. They should be opposing the things. So I believe that we can create this space, and India is a parliamentary democracy. We have multiple political forces. We can approach different political forces to enlarge our space. The only thing is NGOs' space is shrinking.
Then, as we are talking about the social movement, and now you are here in Nepal for, let's say, a social forum, for the preparation of the World Social Forum as well. Could you tell a little background about this, World Social Forum, and your engagement in the World Social Forums, and why the indigenous peoples or Dalits of Nepal? I think this World Social Forums is not that much known in the context of Nepal, and what is your call to for the social communities to also be involved in this area?
Yeah, well, World Social Forum will be happening first time in Nepal. In 2004, it happened in India, in Mumbai. In 2000, I was involved with the World Social Forum in 2002, Asia Social Forum in 2002, World Social Forum in 2004, and now it is happening in the World Social Forum happening in Nepal. World Social Forum is nothing but a space to make your issue shared with other people who are enjoying this space.
Who can
anyone,
an organization or individual
who agrees to the charter of the World Social Forum. They can be part of activity, they can organize activity, they can organize program, and they can make their voice heard. So in that way, I have been part of the World Social Forum process. In 2003, when I went to the Brazil, I found indigenous people and the black people were missing in that. So I raised this issue. So when the World Social Forum came to India in 2004, we tried to make sure that the voices of the Dalits and Adivasi and their agenda are put on the platform. So that's why we suggested a forum called World Dignity Forum in World Social Forum.
So this World Social Forum, where how many countries of the world are involved and
Well, at this point of time, around I heard from the Nepali Organizing Committee, around 70 countries have already got registered their program in the World Social Forum. This time.
So which is taking place from 15th to 19th February.
Yes, 15th to 19th February this year, 24.
And you're also one of the organizing committee.
I am one of the organizing committee member.
Could you just tell what are your expectations as one of the organizing member of this World Social Forum in Kathmandu, and with your own past experiences, what are your let's say expectation from this forum?
Well, we would like this to be a forum of everyone. We would like to see a large number of indigenous population. We would like to see a large number of Dalit population. We would like to see large number of minorities, large number of the marginalized groups. We would certainly like these groups enjoy this space along with the privileged groups. We would like to see every movement which is vibrant in Nepal, vibrant in South Asia, vibrant world over, they should come and participate, and let us share our experience with each other and learn from each other, so that when we can improve, we can improvise our means and mechanism to get this world much more dignified than it is now.
But again, the interesting part, why the World Governing Committee actually chose to organize this World Social Forum in Kathmandu this time? Is there any reason behind?
Yeah, well, I guess that India already had the World Show 20 years ago in 2004. So the other country which is very, open and which has least restrictions is the Nepal. The case of Pakistan, Indians can't go. ठीक है, Bangladesh, Pakistan can't go. Nepal opens its arm to everyone. So Nepal is an open country. So it welcomes everybody. So we thanks Nepal for hosting the World Social Forum.
So today we talked, we are almost at the end of the show, so we talked to some extent the issues of Dalit, also Adivasis and Jatis, and the public space, shrinking of the public spaces and so many other things. And at last I would like to request you to give maybe one line message to the, let's say, minority groups in Nepal. What that message be?
Recently there was a very disturbing act in Nepalganj. So there was a riot, and let me share with everyone, no one in this world has majority. Everyone is a minority. Just keep this in mind. You may be in majority in numbers in this place, but may not be majority in some other places. So everyone in this world is a minority. So let us respect the rights and the obligations towards the minority.
Thank you so much for your good message, and thank you so much for your esteemed thought and also your time, important time, coming to at the studio of Indigenous Television and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you very much. I am really grateful to the Indigenous TV. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much. Today I had a guest, Ashok Bharati, who is the founder and current chairperson or president of the National Confederation of Dalits and Adivasi organizations in India. So he was here in Kathmandu for the preparation of the World Social Forum, which is taking place from 15th to 19th February this year. So in this occasion, I have just invited him to at the studio of Indigenous Television to discuss about the issues of Dalit and Adivasis in India and similar experiences that we also have in Nepal. So with this message, I would like to end this today's English talk show. If you have any questions and concerns, you can reach us at indigenoustelevision@gmail.com. Next week, I will come up with new guests to discuss on new other issues. By then, have a nice weekend. Namaste.